Hello, and welcome back to Suzerain with the Republic of Swordland. And in today's episode, we are going to do our second trade talk with President of Welland this time. Swordland's one flight from Holsword to Warklawitz took approximately 5 hours, despite heavy turbulence. I managed to sleep a little. Simon, David, and I landed at the international airport of the capital city of Welland. Our aim here was to finalize the trade deal drafted between Swordland and Welland. A little bumpier, but it's alright. Our plane landed and the door opened. The sun blinded me for a moment, as I stepped outside. I saw the soldiers lined up on either side of the red carpet. There must have been at least 100 of them. A marching band started playing, and the soldiers immediately saluted me. I'll salute the soldiers. At the bottom of the stairs, Wiktar Smolik was waiting for me, next to a military jeep with a few soldiers by his side. There were a few reporters at the edge of the crowd, waiting with their cameras. He was a tall man, almost as tall as me. He was wearing large sunglasses and a regular suit, contrasting with the military attire of everyone else in the field. I didn't know I was a really tall guy in this game. Mr. President, welcome to Warklawitz. He immediately motioned for an embrace. We hugged, and many cameras went off at the same time. He turned around for a couple of additional poses. Nice to meet you, Mr. President. Now that the pleasantries are done, let's go. We will take the jeep for a tour. With another tune from the marching band, we boarded the military jeep. He sat in the driver's seat, and I sat next to him. As we started speeding up, the soldiers saluted again. Victor saluted back. I'll salute the soldiers. Both our security details started following us immediately, along with a team of reporters. We will first go to the city center to see the unveiling of our statue. Sounds exciting. This is an important occasion for Welland. I am sure you will like it. We kept making small talk about the flight and the weather as we made our way towards the city center. On almost every corner, there were reporters taking photos of us. Aside from them, though, the streets seemed completely empty. Is Warklawitz always this empty? I had this part of the city closed down because of our visit, so that you could enjoy the city in peace. There we are. We arrived at the center. In the middle of a large plaza, there was a covered statue. Large crowds of people were gathered behind fences, waving both Swordland and Welland flags. Victor waved back at them. My people have been very supportive of this visit, Mr. President. I'm sure you're delighted to see them. A man came to the fences and started yelling at Victor. With my limited knowledge of the Wizzic language, I understood the words Victor and murderer. Almost instantly, 2 soldiers came up from behind the man, and he was taken away. Thankfully, the sun is out. Today will be a good day for the reveal. What will happen to the man who was protesting you? Oh, which man? The one in the crowd? Don't worry about the details. He must have been a troubled fellow. Let's focus on the event. I see. I don't feel very comfortable, but okay. We took our places in front of the statue. With a drum roll, the statue of Victor Smolik was uncovered. I was thinking you were just giving me the military treatment because you seem to have a very military focus. So I thought you were doing giving me the military treatment, all the soldiers. This seems a little much, but maybe I'm getting the wrong idea. Let's give him some time to show off, explain. It was a fairly good likeness, albeit more muscular than the real Victor. He was wearing a cloak and holding a sword in his hand. Oh, good, a statue of yourself. That's not a sign of anything. Yep. Excellent statue. Very lifelike. What do you think? Yes, it's very good. Very lifelike. Glad you appreciate the art behind it. Join me for a walk. I followed him through the streets. At every corner, more and more photos were taken. We stopped in front of a pastry vendor on the street. Give me 2 strudels. The man behind the stand smiled and gave us 2 strudels. I'm gonna pay the street vendor? I put my hand on my wallet and brought up some money to give the vendor. Hold up, your money doesn't count here. I got this. He handed the money to the street vendor with a huge smile on his face. The cameras flashed again. Afterwards, we walked a short distance to the palace. Passing the gates, we made our way into the main building, made from ivory-colored stones. The old guard towers flanked the magnificent structure from both sides. The inside of the palace was very spacious, with a very large chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Grand staircases made from the same ivory stone had red carpets on them. On the upper levels, guards stood wearing the traditional outfits of Old Wessex Kingdom. We finally reached the office of the President of Welland. The door closed behind us. I looked around at the golden ornaments on the walls and the various jewel-encrusted artifacts. As was customary in Welland, we sat down on the carpet. Now, we can talk about our trade deal. Nod. But before that, he clapped his hands twice. Bring the crochet. A few assistants immediately entered the room, carrying a large ornamented crucia, the well-known smoking instrument originated from Welland. They immediately lit it up, and the room was filled with the smell of tobacco. Victor inhaled the smoke and handed me, I don't smoke. Your loss is the finest tobacco in the land. He took another puff, filling the room with more smoke. So, Mr. President, bah, that's too loud. Can I call you Anton? Sure. Anton, tell me, what do you really think about my Rumberg? Rumberg? Oh, Kingdom, them? Yeah, I thought that's your, They are a threat to the region. I agree with your sentiments, Anton. They are a threat to everyone in the region. I assure you their time will come. Are you planning something? Well, not yet. First, I need to solve some problems they are creating for me. What is it? He clapped his hands again. Two assistants came into the room with a map of the border region between Welland and Swordland. He pointed at the border. Look. Bloods and their so-called BFF are causing problems for me in this region. They are getting increasingly aggressive with Rumberg's active support. I know that they are a problem for you as well. It will not allow these traitors to exist within my borders, so I will hit them with all the might of Welland. These terrorists need to be destroyed. I will cut all their supplies from Rumberg and trap them on the mountains. I call it Operation Bear Trap. What do you want from me? He grinned and lay back on the large pillow behind him. Here's the deal. I will give you objectively the best trade deal in the region. You will get your assistant, crushing the terrorists on both of our borders. I need specifics. Sure. My spies have infiltrated BFF cells, and they found caches of KA-74s. We trace them back to Rumberg. This alone justifies my retaliation to protect my country. I see. Worst of all, we are also found their similar shipments are going to Swordland. Rumberg is uniting to unite the BFF forces in both of our countries. However, the main problem is the border security between our nations. BFF militants have been using the mountains between Swordland and Welland to escape justice in both of our countries. If we don't act and trap in these mountains, they will keep replenishing their forces in both of our countries and keep waging war against our citizens. Yes, Anton, you see, this is not just Welland's problem. Let's take a step back and talk about what you will get in return. I propose you a no-tariff agreement, co-investment projects, and oil. In return, you will assist me in destroying the armed militants in my country. That's a lot, and you're not asking for anything economically. I don't like this, but that's a lot you're returning to me. That's a good deal. Is this one of those times where you have to be corrupt to help? Or is this a time where the good deed is worth failing other? Because the thing is, this helps the economy, it could help millions, but I'm also killing people. And killing people is a little different than just having some people suffer to have way more people do well. Which is kind of my idea with, like, the rail track going through the bigger places than the small. It sucks for them, but I'm helping more people by messing up less, so it's just kind of going into the mindset of capitalist person who does have a good heart, but also believes in capitalism getting that good heart. It's kind of the character I've been running. I'm trying to think what this character would feel about this. Because he's been very pro-immigration and not big in military, but he doesn't even have to use his military for... Yeah, let's see what else he has to say. You know, as long as they use the mountains in Welland as a base, Sutherland and Lesbia will equally suffer. That's the interest of the whole region. What kind of support do you need from me? Can't Welland handle it by itself? We can, but these vermin are good at hiding. As I told you, they operate and keep organizing inside both of our countries. What I want from you in return for all the money and the resources is only a joint operation between our armies against the BFF. I took a moment to think about it. Let's negotiate Swordland's contribution in this operation. You're a tough one, Anton. Normally I wouldn't offer anything else, but I like you. Here's my final offer. When the operation starts, with you or without you, there will be stragglers trying to cross into Swordland. We just want you to support the operation, even if you do not join. Stop the terrorists from fleeing into countries, and you will have your deal. Simple, isn't? What do you think? Oh my god. That is so... You're offering me all that stuff, and all you want me to do is stop them from fleeing into my country. Oh, that is... the first deal, I think I would have said no to, but that is, I hate this, I really do, but that's way too good of a deal, I gotta take it. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, people of that region, get screwed, I guess. I know I could count on you, I could trust you, Eton. Tonight, we will drink. Drinks, dancers, music! A group of dancers and performers entered, and smoke filled the room. As they performed their songs, we clinked our glasses to our new partnership, while sipping the sweet liquor. The next day, I returned to Swordland with a hangover. Oh god, I feel bad. Welland border defense. The deployment of additional military forces is currently underway to strengthen the border between Swordland and Welland. This move comes amid rising tensions and concerns over potential security threats, as well as increasing military activity observed from Welland's side. Oh yeah, green! New successful trade agreements have led to an increase in volume of traded goods between Swordland and the wider region. Increased trade has significant positive impacts on economic growth and development, promoting increased investment, job creation, and increased access to goods and services. Trade with Welland. The Republic of Swordland and the Republic of Welland have entered into a bilateral agreement allowing for the free exchange of capital, goods, and services across their shared borders and territories. The mutually beneficial arrangement aims to promote economic growth, foster trade partnerships, and strengthen ties between the two nations. Defend borders against BFF. In response to concerns of terrorism, the Republic of Swordland suspended the entry of all British aliens coming from the Republic of Welland. This measure aims to ensure the safety and security of Swordland's borders and its citizens. By temporarily restricting the entry from this specific region, Swordland demonstrates its commitment to combating terrorism and protecting national security. Yes, we are just stopping this one spot temporarily, okay? You could come anywhere else, any other direction, and we'll eventually let this open up again, too. Okay? Okay? Please don't be mad. According to the agreement, all oil imports from Welland are now tariff-free. This development is expected to have a positive impact on Swordland's economy, reducing the cost of energy imports and stimulating growth with affordable energy. I mean, yeah, that's so good. ATO brokers for peace amidst risen claims. Lesbia media. Amidst rising tensions triggered by Rizia's territorial claims from the Arias gas field and the pressures exerted on Pales, the ATO has issued an advisory cautioning against potential disturbances in region stability. The advisory is coupled with the ATO's commitment to protect the interests of its member states, both economically and strategically. Lesbia, a key ATO member and home to Les Power Corp, a significant player in the energy industry, is stepping in to mediate the dispute, seeking to avert a potential destabilizing of conflict over lucrative gas fields. The ATO's stance on this dispute, particularly given Lesbia's involvement, highlights its readiness to protect its strategic interests and its capability for diplomacy in managing regional tensions. This proactive diplomatic intervention and the economic stakes involved emphasize the importance of the Arias gas fields as an asset, underscoring its significance in maintaining geopolitical balance. CSP asserts sovereignty with ban. In a bold countermove in the ATO's recent legislation of PMCs, the CSP has outlawed these entities, making it clear that it prioritizes state-regulated forces. And as a secondary measure, citizen militias and revolutionaries to uphold security within its territories. The CSP emphasizes trust in the state's capacity and responsibility to secure its boundaries, viewing civilian militias as democratic assets when necessary, rather than relying on profit-driven military organizations. This ban underscores the CSP's commitment to maintaining the rule of law within its territory, and reinforces state sovereignty by differentiating between profit-driven military operations and the state responsibility towards citizens. The CSP reinforces ideological divergence from the ATO, setting the stage for continued global strategic competition. And we got some news. Swordland ratified a new trade agreement with Welfin. Swordland ratified a trade agreement and an investment protection agreement with Welfin. This is a significant development that shows a significant normalization of the Swordish-Wilzik relations after a decade of troubles. At the most basic level, the agreement will support jobs and growth between the two nations, ensured the Swordland will be buying Wilzik oil from a cheaper price. The agreement will gradually reduce most tariff regulation barriers, creating new opportunities for Swordish entrepreneurs to do business and investments in Welland. The negotiations are included a cooperation pact against the terrorist organization, Bluish Freedom Front. Speech of the President of Reforms. I came to the Grand National Assembly of Swordland to deliver a speech regarding the new constitution and ask for support of the assembly before the upcoming vote. I walked quickly through the corridors, giving my greetings to the people on my way towards the parliamentary hall. When I entered the hall, the assembly was in complete chaos, with shouting and cursing between the parties. There was a heavy argument about the proposal made by an MP from the NFP. I took my seat inside the special area reserved for the ministers. Gloria was shouting from her seat at the center of the hall as she hit the gavel 3 times, with each strike heavier than the one before. Order! Order! I saw Casaro Kimenir standing up from his seat, shouting towards the member of the PFJP. Mr. Kibbener, calm yourself. Show respect to the procedures of the assembly. Despite her efforts, the argument continued for a couple of minutes before everyone took back to their seats and finally went quiet. Mr. Kibbener, next time when I tell you to do so, either take your seat or leave the hall, so we can proceed with the procedures of this assembly and continue our duties. Some MPs from the NFP side shouted back at her in protest. Honorable ladies and gentlemen, if you allow me to continue, she pointed at me. We have the president here with us today. He was asked to give an important announcement. The assembly fell silent. You have the floor, Mr. President. I walked to the stand as loud clapping started in the USP's side. Brothers and sisters, I am here today to raise important questions regarding our outdated constitution. Perhaps it is not expected of me to say this, but the president holds too much authority. Perhaps it is not expected of me to say this, but this president holds too much authority in Swordish politics. In order to strengthen our democracy, we must be brave enough to point out the injustices and faults of our constitution. Therefore, we propose change to the constitution to prepare Swordland for a more democratic era. Applauses came from the USP and PFJP seats. We will rebalance the branch of government to ensure a more democratic process. I focused on change. We must not be afraid of change. The world is changing, and Swordland needs to the change it has earned after years of solism in the last decades. We will rewrite the old and make a constitution that would reflect the will of the people and open the way for a democratic Swordland. Let's embrace the future. Loud noises come from the USP. Woo! And NFP seats. Woo! I took a breath and continued. I ask everyone to think clearly about our current situation and join us for a change. Be part of a new Swordland. Join us and vote for the proposal. Let's write the future together. I'll finish with a poem. I decided to read a poem before I ended my speech. There's a victory growing with every morning. There's my country beyond everything, my beloved. There's an evil that tortures me and tears me down. Do not dare to surrender. There's a victory that grows with defeat. Beyond the next morning, there's a victory waiting to be won. The assembly roared with all kinds of different reactions. The whole United Swordsland Party stood up and started applauding. Thank you for the speech, Mr. President. I walked back to my seat as many MPs asked to speak. Prince Richter was among them. Yes, Mr. Richter? Thank you, Miss Speaker. I would like to thank Mr. President for his speech. We, the People's Freedom and Justice Party, stand in agreement with the need for a more democratic constitution. I would like to thank the ladies and gentlemen of the United Swordsland Party for their more open attitude compared to the past years. As long as Mr. President's words prove not to be just words, we will be behind this much-needed movement for change. We welcome this attempt. I ask Mr. President to share the final contents of the proposal as soon as possible. Thank you, Miss Richter. Suddenly, Kesaro Kibbener started yelling from his seat. The President must have lost his mind! To cooperate with the likes of you, Mr. Richter. You and PFJP are nothing but puppets of Western interests. Order! Order! Madam Speaker, I know you are in agreement with me as well. Don't stand idly there while the administration is making deals with snakes and undermine the integrity of us. Order! Mr. Kibler, how many times do I need to say? You're speaking out of... I demand to speak! Gloria gave him a stare. She looked annoyed. Very well, Mr. Kibner. Go ahead. Mr. President! He looked directly at me. The nationalist movement does not agree with your priorities, nor the way you're trying to implement them. The Nationalist Front Party will not stand with you under the new constitution. Let it be known the NFP's concerns are not included in the so-called democratic reforms. Thus, Mr. President has no right to claim them as such. We will stand our ground against any attempt to bring down or establish political culture and national values. Thank you. Kesaro went back to his seat, but the chaos in the assembly continued. I asked to speak. Yes, Mr. President? I just wanted to thank everybody for their comments. Alright, Mr. President. MPs kept shouting and responding to each other, creating a loud mess where nothing was legible. Order! Order! This topic is finished. We are moving on to our next topic. I slowly left the hall. The shouting could be heard from every corridor of the Grand National Assembly. What news we got? Rain, President holds too much authority. President Rain has called on the Grand National Assembly of Swordsland to support the upcoming constitutional changes in his address in the Parliament. The President's address came after a series of meetings within the USP, which probably involved discussions about the new constitution. President Rain talked about the main points of their proposed changes and revealed that the current draft will be looked over again with the leaders of the PFJP before it is proposed in the Parliament. Perhaps it's not expected of me to say this, but the President holds too much authority in Swedish politics, said President Rain, criticizing the power of the office he's holding. This state was for surprise and was welcomed by Prince Richter of the PFJP. We must brave enough to point out the injustices and faults of our constitution, said President Rain, showing that he's willing to bring changes that would not necessarily benefit his position. And go on battleship rams into Vagslandia's destroyer. The tensions between Agnolia and Vagland keep climbing. The latest addition to the escalation happened yesterday on the Vagalasian channel when an Agnolian battleship rammed into a Vaglandish destroyer. According to Agnolian sources, yesterday in the morning, the Agnolian battleship Van Gilben A387 has warned the Vaglandish destroyer Stanson to move out of the way. The Vaglandish captain did not respond to the communication. As a result, two ships collided, causing few injuries to happen on board. Neither side opened fire and instead waited for orders. Reform status. Lucien Gunn reported that so far they have been able to get in total 142 signatures behind the proposal. Efforts are underway to increase the support and to reach out to the necessary members to reach 150. I mean, honestly, we're pretty close already to get to that point. Defense Minister Joseph Lancia reports that the Welland borders have been closed and the division of the Third Armies are ready for the operation. Good. Now we continue. Wealth of nations. But this is a good time to go ahead and end this episode. And the next one, well, we're starting our next chapter, aren't we? But I'll see you in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell button. And as always, peace.